Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This here is Dr. Soul Brother back on again to try to provide remedies to cure your ills. I want to say greetings to everybody. Hope everyone is well. I won't be long, but I must be straight to the point. I was going to come back this week and do a show on something other than what I'd planned today. However, I couldn't help but notice the response from my Pete Rock show, and it caused me to have to address some things right here and now. First off, I'm not going to go over the Pete Rock show. That I think that show speaks for itself. I do not apologize for anything that I said, but I will say this: it is now time for me to address the conscious community, the so-called conscious community. Give me one moment. Here's the deal. Um, the conscious community has created a lot of problems in among black folk. And so I'm duty bound to address you right now. This is Dr. Soul Brother. So it's me talking to the conscious community in the clouds. Um and believe it or not, this is gonna tie in to Pete Rock to some extent, or maybe to a large extent. But anyway, here's the point. I want to talk about the damage that the conscious community has done in the black community across this nation in ways that I don't think enough people fully understand. Um, it's one thing to talk about Mother Africa. Africa is our ancestral homeland, without question. We come from a people who gave the world civilization, the world civilization. Um, and there are things that we do in our culture that represent African retention, contrary to what the conscious community want to put out there, and that is that we were stripped of everything. Now I know some of those things are Nation of Islam talking points, but I'm here to tell you that's fundamentally false. I find it interesting that there was a white man who happened to have been Jewish by the name of Melville Herskovitz, who pointed out that in a book, it was a book he wrote in 1941, I believe, and the myth of the Negro past. And this is a book that Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, two founders of the Black Panther Party, um, used to read when they were part of the Afro American Association at Merritt College in Oakland, California. This is before the Black Panther Party days, before. So again, this is in the Afro American Association back in the '60s. But that's a conversation for another day. But here's the point. The point is, I find it interesting that a white man who happened to have been Jewish um, cited African retention that existed. So his scholarship alone, let me repeat that, his scholarship alone debunks this whole notion that uh, black folk in America were stripped of everything, and other parts of the world where black folks are, like in the Caribbean, like in Brazil, Suriname, Guyana, etc. Black folk have more African retention than black folks in America. As a matter of fact, there were people, and these are some of these people are my senior. You had people who are my contemporaries who are guilty of this, but you also had people who are my senior who said, "Well, you guys have more African retention than we do." Okay. See, what you don't understand is you help to embolden people in terms of their outlook as it relates to Black America. You did that with your reckless mouth. Okay. Let's be clear. Um, the conscious community has done major damage, and I'm just going to go down the list. The conscious community is a umbrella term. The Nation of Islam, um, the was that Moorish Science Temple, um, the Afrocentrics, etc. Um, and what you find right now, as we speak, people are giving pushback to much of that rhetoric. And don't understand, though you have black folks who are from Africa, different parts of Africa, the Caribbean, who exhibiting some haughtiness and saying or suggesting that black folks in America don't have a culture. No one understand this. This stupid notion about black America not having a culture is not only is insulting, it's insane. But no one understand that when you hear a foreign black person with those talking points coming flying out of their mouths, they got that from you, black America. I'm gonna say it again. When you run into a black person from different parts of Africa or the Caribbean, and you hear those talking points cut flying out of their mouths, they got that from you, black America, and your reckless mouth. Okay? That's the conscious community. I remember very well those folk who would do that back in the day. And that's one of the reasons why we have the problems that we have. Um, I also want to talk about the conscious community being antithetical to the black arts movement. So, to those of you who didn't like what I had to say regarding Busta Rhymes, Pete Rock, etc., as far as I'm concerned, you can kick rocks. You can kick rocks because say Dr. Soul Brother is one who comes with receipts. You did that. You and your reckless mouth. Now, when I say this, I'm not putting the onus solely on Black America, but the point is, you didn't help the situation. You encouraged it, and you made an already bad situation worse. You encouraged it with your reckless mouth, and you helped to further embolden them with that. So there needs to be some accountability with that. Um, in today's, I referenced the Nation of Islam earlier, but they're the ones who said that they use terms like slave food when it came to uh, soul food, etc. So whenever you hear people use the term slave food, just know understand that came from the Nation of Islam. Okay, um, going in on the diet, etc., and other people in the so-called conscious community. That's what they've done. All you all are a bunch of black hippies. Okay, that's what you're doing. All this vegetarian or veganism, that's some black hippie stuff. See, ordinarily, I wouldn't even go down this rabbit hole. But since I got the kind of responses that I did regarding my show I did on Pete Rock, see, now y'all have forced my hand. You forced me to take it there. And because as long as I've been doing these podcasts, I haven't said anything about the conscious community. I haven't. I haven't even used the term conscious community. But now I will. And just know and understand, Mr. Buster Rhymes, 5%er, with his island roots combined, he has a false sense of superiority to Black America. And any Black American who would associate themselves with him or Pete Rock, knowing that they exhibit Caribbean chauvinism, false sense of superiority, you have no dignity and you have no integrity. Something is fundamentally wrong in the psyche. Okay? Now, I'm going to address one of the worst uh, offenders in today's environment, and that is the Hebrew Israelites. They're part of the quote unquote conscious community. You guys are one of the worst, and I find you highly despicable and a stain that needs to be removed. Again, despicable and a stain that needs to be removed. Somebody made a comment saying that I think you got it wrong. Firstly, can you tell me what a real American is? Because last time I looked, America is a national. I'm assuming nation you meant to say, I suppose, made up all different nations of people. And if you think, and if you still think you as a black man are an African American in 2000, well, we put 2003, we meant to say 2023. then you have a lot to learn about yourself before you can look at others. And I went off into some other stuff that I won't go into right now. But here's the point. I'm gonna say this to you, Mr. Flav Tech. Um, First of all, I'm secure and comfortable in my skin. And when I say skin, I don't just mean black skin. I mean in my Afro American skin. I'm very confident in that. And I know who I am. Or as old boy said in the movie A Soldier Story, I know who I is. Okay? That's Dr. Soul Brother. And what gives me soul is um the culture, the organic culture that comes out of the United States. That's what gives me soul. And that's what gives me confidence. Okay? Because our people built this country. Let's understand this. And this thing about um, um, wanting to reject our American identity is highly, highly problematic. It really is. You've gone too far. And I want to address somebody else who made a comment suggesting that uh, toxic hater vibes from this video. Lots of name calling. No, I call it for what it is. And this notion about toxic hater vibes, no, that's your perception. And you got some unresolved issues that you need to iron out. Then somebody else suggested something about putting some respect on the man who is one of the most influential producers of the 90s, next to DJ Premier and RZA. Nobody wants to hear a 20-minute hate session. Devin, is that your name? Devin? Let me explain something to you. Um, this whole notion, you'll have the same outlook as white folks do, where you perceive or misread things as hate. I wasn't cursing. I wasn't talking loud. I may have been talking passionate, which I am. And you come at me wrong, you're gonna get the funk for real, for real. Excuse me. So there's some things that Dr. Soul Brother will not tolerate. I won't tolerate it from anybody, regardless of who you think you are, your age, your color, what part of the country you're from, what part of the world you're from. You out of line, I'm gonna call you on it. Period. That's how I roll. So don't let's not get it twisted up. But no, anybody would have a brain to be able to know and understand that the conscious community has done more damage than anything else. And right now, we're in a space where we're trying to make changes for those things that were taught to us back in the 80s and the 90s. Okay? Our minds collectively were violated. I know of some people who uh, looked at Africans and Caribbeans as exotic and sexy. And you were the ones who were running your mouth talking about we didn't have a culture. You were the ones saying to them, uh, well, you guys, meaning the Caribbean, you guys have more African retention than we do. You said that. You said that you and your reckless mouths. You did that. So, and here's the other thing. The fact that you have people like Buster Rhymes, like Pete Rock, who will publicly, arrogantly, and rudely say the kind of nefarious, make the kind of nefarious remarks that they make. Well, guess what? They need to be called out on it. As I said in my other show, I have no problem with having a discussion with Mr. Pete Rock. I'm open to that. But at the same time, I'm not open to bull crap. And Dr. Soul Brother will not tolerate it from anybody. I don't care who you think you are or who you are. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna wrap it up because again, I didn't even intend to come on this show uh, tonight to even discussing this, but the responses to my program continues to bother me, and I felt compelled, duty bound, to address it because here's the thing: this man, Doctor Soul Brother, is not. I repeat, you need you to hear me. Is not going to allow you, anybody else, or anybody else out there in the clouds. Hear me well. I'm not going to allow you to get in the comments section and make some nefarious remarks. In fact, here's what's going to happen. Let me be clear. To you Hebrew Israelite jokers, you're not welcome on my channel. Let me say that again. Hebrew Israelite jokers, you are not welcome on my channel. Or anybody else who has kind of a smart alecky, rude, arrogant remarks, stay off my channel. Stay off of it. I don't need your comments. If you are antithetical to what I am, because here's the thing. If you go back and listen to any of my shows that I've done, I am clearly embracing my Afro-Americana-ness. I'm embracing it. And I'm in the reparative work of trying to get our people to make a reassessment and look and say, look, I'll say it explicitly. We have nothing to be ashamed of, not just as it relates to the race of people we come from, our skin tone, hair texture, facial features, etc., but also our nationality and our ethnicity. Other words, Afro American is an ethnicity and American is the nationality. And this man is not going to allow folk to try to encourage me to hide my nationality under a bushel. No, because again, that's exactly what racist white folks want us to do. They enjoy that. I've said before and I say again, when they hear you clowns, you conscious, so-called conscious community say, we don't have a country, they laying in the cut saying, yes. When they hear you say, we're not Americans, they say, yes. We need to pack up and leave America and go straight back to Africa. They say, yes. That's exactly what these bastards want us to do. And what we're saying, and I think I speak on behalf of those who are on the same sheet of music with me, we ain't going nowhere. This is ours. And just remember the song by Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions in 1968, This Is My Country. So guess what? The conscious community, we're telling you to cease and desist. Back up. We don't need to hear from you ever again. Until and unless you have a come to Jesus moment, we don't need to hear from you again. So to the Hebrew Israelites and other folks who consider themselves quote unquote conscious, don't come on my channel with that mess. You're not welcome here. You're not. Again, Dr. Soul Brother is in the business of trying to do reparative work in terms of our minds. I don't play around when I say I have the remedy to cure your ills. This is one of them. And for you to come on my show arrogantly and rudely and try to um, call yourself telling me something. Oh no, I got something for your hide. And that's real talk. I'll tell you straight like that. Don't you ever come on my channel with that mess ever again. You will be blocked immediately. So that goes for you clowns who call yourself. Don't put those kind of comments in my comment section again, ever. You're welcome to listen to my show, fine, but keep your comments to yourself. I don't want to hear from you. And the rest of us who are in the business of trying to do reparative work don't need to hear from you at all. You are a virus. You've been a virus all this time. And when I say virus, I'm including those folks who are in their 70s and 80s too. You've been part of the problem. You helped to jumpstart this madness. And so those of you who are 70 plus, 80 plus years of age, I recognize you have fewer years ahead of you than behind you, but you need to understand this. Understand this and hear me clearly. You created this mess. You and your reckless mouths. That's a fact. So, what needs to happen? Those of you who are responsible for this, you need to go into confession like they do in the Catholic Church and or engage in some self inventory and come clean and realize, you know what? I screwed up. I apologize. And I need to try to do some damage control, which is what I'm attempting to do with my channel here. Try to do damage control because a lot of damage has been done. We got to come behind you and clean up the mess that you made. You did this. This is our country. We are Americans, and there's nothing to be ashamed of at all. Nothing. Everybody else outside of these borders in the diaspora are allowed to be Afro-Brazilian, hmm? um, uh, Afro-Colombian, and others are allowed to be Jamaicans, Trinidadians, Barbadians, Grenadians, etc. Antiguans, and etc. Not even an Afro or African hyphenated, but yet over here, oh, we're Africans. How that's a problem. That's a real problem. So you're superimposing your personal hangups on the rest of us. That day is done. You keep your hangups to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Don't you ever, not on this platform, are you allowed here. Now, you might be able to pull that mess with somebody else, not with Dr. Soul Brother. And that's real talk. So, Dr. Soul Brother is going to end because I don't want to be long and I don't want to keep going on and elevate my blood pressure. But that's how heated I am right now over this. So, those of you who like what you hear and listen to my other shows, please comment. Please subscribe. The more subscribers, the better. And believe it or not, I'm not the enemy. But what you don't understand, you so-called conscious community, you're doing the bidding for white folks. That's what you're doing. That's exactly what you are doing, whether you realize it or not, or whether you care or not. This is what you're doing. And as one, and what you're doing also, you're exhibiting black hate cloaked in black love. That's what you're doing. And as one brother from Jamaica, may he rest in peace, um, he said he was a journalist, and as he said to a guy named Muda Baruka, Ian Boyne, uh, Mr. Ian Boyne said to Muda Baruka when he was trying to explain to him about the genius of cultural imperialism. It is so subtle that even when you think you've escaped, you have not escaped. And I'm saying that to say this: when you tell us we don't have a culture, this is not our country, and that basically we don't have an identity, you are doing the same thing. Those are white folks' talking points. They told people who are in their 70s and 80s, and possibly even 90s, who are still alive when they were in school, if they would be truly honest, they would cop to this and say, you know what? When we were in school back in the 40s, 50s, we had teachers who told us, if you're not into classical music or opera music, you're culturally deprived. That's what they told them. Hmm? That's what they told them. So anybody who's listening in the clouds who are senior citizens, you know what I'm talking about. You know that you had teachers who told you that mess. Okay? So what the conscious community did is one thing to learn and understand about Mother Africa. We get it. They did a job on us in terms of our collective psyche by turning us off from Africa by way of those Tarzan movies and all the other kind of propaganda crap. But the thing is, um, there's nothing wrong with embracing Africa because again, Africa is our ancestral homeland. That's understood. However, when you are encouraged, see, we see you, conscious community, when you are encouraged to embrace Mother Africa and by extension, um, the Caribbean at the expense of your American identity, at the expense of your ethnicity, which is African American, at that expense, that's when we have a problem. And this is where quote unquote flat blackness has gotten us into trouble. So right now, people are trying to course correct the damage that you've done, and you have done damage. Okay, and I'm was compelled to get on here tonight to address this. So whether it's Pete Rock, and as I said, I don't apologize for what I said about Pete Rock. I don't. He's out of line and he's arrogant and he is despicable. So to those of you who want to cape for him, you can walk off and kick rocks as far as I'm concerned. So again, keep your hide off my channel and keep your thoughts to yourself. This is Dr. Soul Brother, encouraging you to subscribe to my channel, tell your friends, hit the like button, and I don't want to see anything but positive response. I don't need to hear from the Hebrew Israelite folk trying to tell us we're not Americans and other people who want to accuse me of hate vibes and all that other kind of bull crap. You're deflecting now. talking crazy. So now I'm going to sign off. Until the next time, God bless. Have a good one.